Did you want to be able to link your magical musketeers into a new archetype with another link one? Well, you can do that. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button if you have not ran over and got your magical musketeer cards. It's already too late. Alright, so, whew, wow, you know, this card looks really cool. You know, I like that this, oh wait, we'll talk about that here in a second. So, our level 6, the Fiendsmith themselves. So this is a light fiend effect monster with 1800, 2400 defense. So we can discard this card to add one Fiendsmith Spawn Trap card from your deck to your hand. Yes, this allows you to be able to dump it to the graveyard to recruit for anything in your archetype. We can target one Fiendsmith equip card you control and one monster on the field. Send them to the graveyard. So, I mean, that's pretty good. And then if this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one other light fiend monster in your graveyard into the deck or extra deck to special summon this card. Okay, well, you know what? That's actually pretty good. Also, considering most of this archetype is going to be using its extra little equips, and this thing gives you the ability to yeet off, you know, an equip to yeet another monster is actually pretty good. Now, let's get into our fusions here. So, I know this art is kind of weird for this, but okay, so this is a light fiend level 6. It's going to be 2 light fiend monsters to make this. So keep in mind it's going to be magical musketeers, Majesty's Fiend, and some fabled stuff actually. So you can only use the first and third effects of this card's name once per turn. So if this is fusion summon, we can target one light monster. Alright, one light fiend in your graveyard, or banishment. They're still sticking to that banishment. And either add it to your hand or special summon it. Monsters your opponent controls will lose 600 attack. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, we can shuffle one other light fiend monster from your graveyard into the deck or extra deck to ping your opponent for 1200 damage. Not a real crazy send to graveyard effect, but you know what? That 1200 damage can actually matter. And global 600 power down is actually pretty good. I do want to say though, it's because they haven't shown the Link 1 yet at this point. Being able to, you know, bring out the Link 1 back to the field is going to be important. So this is the Fiendsmith Dice Ire, aka Chainsaw Man. So this is going to be the Fiendsmith plus 2 light fiend monsters on a 28, 2400, and it's also a level 9. So quick effect. You can negate the effects of a number of face-up cards on the field until the end of this turn up to the total link rating of the link monsters equipped to this card. Alright, as equipped cards. So link 1 and link 2, so you can negate 3 cards. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle one of the light fiend monster from graveyard into the deck or extra deck, then target one card on the field and send it to the graveyard. That's actually not a terrible thing. The fact that your floatability, well, I can't even say your floatability because it doesn't bring itself back, but the card literally goes, hey, you blew me up, go ahead and do something. Now, this is the card that brings everything together when I mentioned the magical musketeer thing at the beginning of this video. So link 1, it's going to require a light fiend or a light fiend monster. Please do keep in mind that it does not say what the conditions are for the light fiend monster. So you can normal summon magical musketeer monster. You can go ahead and then make the max. And then after max is done, you can link max into this, actually. So you can only special summon Fiendsmith Requiems once per turn. And you can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. So during the main phase, we contribute this card to special summon a Fiendsmith monster from your hand or deck. Alright. And then we can target one non-link light fiend monster you control. Equip this card from your field or graveyard to that target as an equip spell. That gives 600 attack points. You know what? This card is actually pretty good. Alright, you get a free equip back to the field. Do keep in mind it has to be target one non-link light fiend monster you control. So that's going to be, you won't be able to do this on top of like your magical musketeer max, but that's fine. Alright, but the fact that you can literally go link 1 into link 1 with this and be able to tribute it to bring out the Fiendsmith from the deck after you do like full magical musketeer combo is like actually so cool to me. Alright. Now we also have link 2 here, which actually is that Despair from the Dark? Yes, evidently Despair from the Dark is trapped with this guy or something like that. So, Fiendsmith Sanctus is going to be 2 monsters, including a light fiend monster. Thank you that we didn't have to require 2 of these. So, during your main phase, we can fusion summon a fiend fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling materials mentioned on it from your graveyard into the deck. So what's really cool about this is, I mean, you have 2 light fiends on the field. Just link summon into this, and this just gives you the ability to tuck them back and then be able to do a fusion summon. So it's actually pretty good. And then we can target 1 non-link light fiend monster we control. Equip this card from your field or graveyard to the targeted equipped spell card that gains the effect of your opponent cannot target the equipped monster with card effects. Hey, you know, this is actually pretty decent. Initial translations, we were worried that these had to link from or equip from the field. And now that we actually have these fully translated, I'm really happy to see that these are able to actually resolve from the field on to these cards. But, like, for both of these being, like, extremely generic in the way that they are for the light fiend stuff, like, this is actually pretty cool. And guess what? We also got a searcher here, which is pretty cool. So this is the Fiendsmith Tracus. So you can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. So we can add a light fiend monster from our deck to our hand, and then we have to discard a card. Keep in mind that that literally says add a light fiend monster. It does not specifically say within this archetype. You now have a searcher for your magical musketeers. Okay. We can banish this card from the graveyard to fusion summon 1 Fiendsmith fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. Tractus is a form of versicular sung in the Roman Catholic Church after the gradual between... Man, I'm not getting into this lore. Like, you just need to know we have a searcher that lets you do a fusion summon. Like, okay, I'm kind of in here. Alright, Fiendsmith Sanctus. When I first read this card, this card is so insane, technically. So you only use the first second effects of this card's name once per turn. So if you control no face-up monsters, or all face-up monsters you control are light fiend monsters, smash summon a Fiendsmith token, Fiend Light, level 1 attack 0 and defense 0. You cannot declare attacks for the rest of the turn except for fiend monsters. Did they just make a Hornet Drones for fiends? Yeah, they did. And if a face-up Fiendsmith monster you control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can reset this thing back to the field. So they actually really wanted to make the Hornet Drones recurable for this, which I am just waiting for this. This theme feels like it needs like a big, chunky Link 4, you know what I mean? Because, like, if you're doing all of this little Fiendsmith Sanctus stuff with this, you know, setting up these tokens, like, there's got to be a bigger payoff at the long haul for this archetype. And then we also have the Demonsmith in Parium, or Fiendsmith in Parium. So you can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. So we can target 1 level 7 or higher light fiend monster we control. Send all cards on the field to the graveyard except that monster. Okay, well, that's alright. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters while this card is in your graveyard, we can banish this card to send 1 Fiendsmith monster from the deck or extra deck to the graveyard. So, you know, we can go ahead and mill off one of the, you know, like this guy, for example, to, you know, be able to, you know, load up as an additional equip onto the monster so you can kind of do your thing. Honestly, I love what they're trying to do with the lore for this, trying to bridge this in with the magical musketeer stuff. Or, you know, if you want to try it in some sort of Unchained variant, it all comes down to where can you put your light fiend support to maximize the best value off of this. And honestly, it's cool to see magical musketeers get something that, I mean, sure, it's not within, you know, its own archetype, but a Link 1 into a Link 1 to be able to access something, it's really cool. That's what Konami needs to do. Now you're going to play your magical musketeer stuff with these Fiendsmith cards, and now your opponent's just going to look at you and go, huh, that's kind of cool. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Patrons, thank you. Ugh.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.